Yep. Okay, cool. Hi, everybody.
Hi, I have a mic in my face. Change that.
So we're going to be doing a Q&A, and rather than have us just ask some questions, we wanted to really just pass the mic, really give you guys a chance to ask the questions. And as the moderator, one thing I wanted to tell you is let's sort of enter a social contract where we all agree and understand that a question begins with a W or an H word and not I. So just think about that, let it sit in. And that's how we're going to do this, all right? So, who has a question for these guys? All right. Let's start a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got one more person who can ask a question. Who will be 10? 10. All right. Okay. Cool. So let's start a line. All right. Number 1. Go ahead.
What is your favorite part about being Cecil Baldwin? Like the character. I mean, I know it's your actual you. What is your favorite part about being yourself?
Naps.
I'm sorry, was this a question for me?
Yes, Joseph. What is your favorite part about being Cecil? Favorite part about playing Cecil? I love being able to be creepy, giddy like a schoolgirl, and drop dead serious. Sometimes in the span of like 2 sentences. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, the line now.
Yeah.
I don't really have a deep intellectual question. I was just curious about this thing in the episode Cassettes. He says a full name, but I can't figure out if that's his first name, a middle name, and a last name, or his first name and then a hyphenated last name.
Oh.
Middle name, last name.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For Joseph Fink, because I'm afraid I can't talk to you because I might faint.
That's okay.
As a writer, with all the headcanons and fan-fueled stuffs, what do you find most challenging for inventing new material for Cecil to report on?
Just getting to work and doing it, I guess. Like, when I actually start writing, it's super easy. I've been writing Night Vale for a while now, and so if I just make the time and I just force myself to write, I usually end up pretty happy with what I did. Like, this script we did tonight is one that I wrote like 2 days before we first performed it, like late at night, really like forcing myself to do it. And I think it turned out okay. And yeah, so it's really just forcing myself to do the work, just like any other job, I guess.
Thank you.
I have 2 things. First, how do you feel about all the weird headcanons and stuff that people make up that isn't really based in canon? And, like the third eye and tentacles and all that stuff.
I mean, it's awesome that people are finding all this stuff within the show that they can kind of really explore. I try to ignore that stuff as much as I can, because ultimately I have a story to tell, and it has to be kind of the story it is. And if I have all these other ideas that belong to other people swimming around in my head, I would never be able to write something that belonged to me. And so ultimately, I do my best to just ignore all of them. I mean, I think they're awesome that they exist. I just, like, it's awesome that there's so much fan fiction. I've never, and I will never read a single word of it.
Okay, and also I made something for you. Can I give it to you?
Yeah, come on up. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're starting to kind of bring this in with cassette, but it relates to episode 19, Sandstorm. How are we supposed to have credibility with Cecil? He's the only one. You have all these, yeah, it might be a bad sign. You're the voice of everyone in that town with the exception of a few people that we hear, and all of a sudden we have Kevin from, Bluffs over there comes in and has the same exact stuff happening to him in his city, but a completely different viewpoint of it. And that's the first time we've ever had news from an outside source. So how does that affect the credibility of Cecil, especially with Cassette now learning about some of his past?
Well, I mean, I think we all know that Cecil is kind of an unreliable narrator. I shudder to think what would happen if you turned on MSNBC and somebody was like, and now the news from, oh my god, look at this cat is amazing! So, I think it's already established that Cecil is maybe not the most awesome at keeping it on the professional level. But, I mean, I like it because it definitely, it expands the world. It makes Night Vale and Desert Bluffs that much more real when you not only get Cecil's perspective, but you start getting other perspectives as well. I think it just enriches the story as a whole. And it's also fun to meet all these other actors who bring their own interpretations to it, and it's really cool getting to work with people like Jackson Public and Jessica and Kevin, and, you know, it's just like, they bring an energy that, you know, just me, like, it inspires me to work with them. So I love it.
Yeah, personally, I would say Cecil is as reliable as any other human being, which is to say he's not reliable at all.
Cool. Thank you.
Bouncing off one of the earlier questions regarding how you think about what other people write about it, I'm kind of curious about what you think of the internet's adoption of the visual aspect of it, since radio is, by its very nature, an audio medium. To take your voice and want to know is what you think of the interpretations of these stories from a visual aspect of it.
It's very, what's the word? It is amazing and inspiring when something that you've created inspires other people to do their own art. You know, and that's whether it's fan fiction or drawings or cartoons or anything, you know, even like a lot of the fan mixes of music is amazing. I actually like those a lot because I'm pathetic at finding new music. So I like, so it's this case of like, I'm, you know, like Joseph and Jeffrey and I make something, and then that inspires somebody else to make something, and then that inspires me to learn about something new. Like it kind of reciprocates back and forth. And I love that. You know, whether, you know, Cecil has a third eye or not, or he's human or not, or, you know, what these characters look like, I'm less concerned about what the right answer is, and I'm more concerned about how passionate the creator of it is. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Hi. Just wanted to say thank you for coming to Greensboro.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
And thank you to Geeksboro.
Yeah.
So to jump off of that, what made you choose Greensboro? How did you get here? We're grateful. I normally hear about you in New York or LA. Greensboro just wasn't the first city that popped in my mind.
You have Joe to thank for
That's
that.
right. That man right there.
Yeah, he approached us, and it sounded cool, and so here we are.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. He's like, no.
We're making hand signals.
Well, there's one reason that they're here, and she's right here. Aaron told me about this podcast, and I listened to it, and I was like, well, what if we got them to come to our coffee shop and perform?
I didn't think it was going to happen.
I just hit send on the email, and then they're actually really good about writing me back. Like, Joseph's awesome with email, and he just wrote back and said, yeah.
I'm very good at emails.
Hey, what's up?
Hi.
You mentioned a storyteller earlier, and I know some of the episodes are written by guest writers, what do you want to call them? do you have like an endpoint in mind in terms of like an overarching story, or just like, we're tired of doing this, here's the last episode now already planned out, like a place where it's going at the very end?
No, we don't have an endpoint. It's one of these things, like, we plan to do this as long as it feels good and makes sense to do it. And so we're not like a TV show where we're like, we're going to go 3 more years and then we have this endpoint. Like, we are planning ahead more than we used to. The first year was very much episode by episode. We did not plan ahead at all. This year we kind of know what's going to happen at our 2-year anniversary. We have some plans for that. We know kind of the moving parts here. We aren't completely sure about the in-between, but we have had some discussions about where all those things are going to end up here. So we actually are planning ahead a little more in our second year, but no, we don't have any big end game. It's just kind of the ongoing life of this community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last question.
Okay, first of all, I just really wanted to say that having a main character who is in a canon gay relationship, LGBTQA relationship, is such a huge deal because it's like you don't see a lot of representation, and it's just really heartwarming and awesome to see that you guys have really made that a thing. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And also, my question was kind of asked in different forms before, but I was wondering if you had, if you pictured yourself as the character of Cecil, or if you had a different kind of persona with Cecil.
It's very similar to who I am in real life, because if there's one thing that every person in this room knows very well, it's how to be themselves. The easiest thing to remember is the truth in any situation, and so it's not like I crafted some Stanislavski-esque character that I have to like prepare for an hour before I can record these episodes. I mean, and I think that is to the betterment of the podcast because it opens up the door for whatever strikes me so I can take in the language that Joseph and Jeffrey have written and perform it honestly. And some days it's dark, and some days it's funny, and some days it's heartbreaking, and some days it's all three. But it's important to be truthful and honest, and the easiest thing to remember is the truth. So yeah, I don't really focus on what is this character as much as I focus on the language that I'm given and just try to honestly respond to it. So yeah, thank you.
We actually have time for probably 3 more questions. Does anyone else have a question? Right, you can get in line. You can get in line, and you're already in line, so yeah. All right, go ahead.
Умный вопрос. Как сказать по-русски так очень вы?
Yeah, da.
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
Neither of us speak any Russian.
No, not at all.
Well, why Russian? Like, as far as, the Apache tracker, who is totally not a racist.
That's debatable.
I wouldn't say that's debatable. No, I mean, the fact that he was a racist was sort of his entire character. There's a reason we got rid of him. He was ultimately just not that interesting because there just was nothing else to him. Why Russian? We will talk about that more in a future episode.
See, not even I know this. This is like news for me as well.
A future episode co-written by my old coworker, Zach Parsons. I'm very excited about it.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got some exclusive information there. That was pretty cool.
Okay, so this question is for Joseph. This episode, the one that you guys just did tonight, seemed like it was really influenced by Enigma and On the Guard with Fault, and I could be completely off by that. It's a Japanese comic book thing. And but I was just wondering, who are some of your main literary influences?
Okay, I've never heard of that comic you mentioned, so if it was an influence, then it was one that I was not aware of. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of influences. There's a lot of stuff I read. A lot of it is not stuff that necessarily has anything to do with the subject matter of Night Vale. I mean, obviously, like, I like Twin Peaks, I like X-Files, I like that whole genre, but that's not really what interests me necessarily. I really like the language aspect, so like one that Jeffrey and I pull from a lot is the playwright Will Eno. He's, I think he won a Pulitzer. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, I think. Does amazing things with language, and a lot of the language of Night Vale is very influenced from him. Also, the writer Deb Olin Unferth, a writer many people have not read, and they should correct that. Her book Vacation is one of my absolute favorite books, and I would say a lot of Night Vale's language comes from her writing. Also, people like Thomas Pynchon are a big thing for me, just kind of that unfocused paranoia, that creation of conspiracies that ultimately go nowhere, that lead to nothing. I find all that super fascinating.
So, not Lovecraft.
I personally hate Lovecraft. I respect his ideas, I respect his influence on modern horror, I respect... That's about it. Ultimately, he was a horrible human being. A lot of his ideas about cosmic horror came out of just incredible racism and xenophobia. And I really love language, and he did horrible things to language. The man could not put words together very well.
I'm not going to sleep tonight. Thank you.
Hey, this question is for both of you. What aspect of the Night Vale world do you wish would be a part of this world?
Floating cats. That'd be pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, is it my turn? Okay.
No,
That was your
give me a
entire
second. That was
answer.
it. That's all I got right now.
There's a certain sense of community that's really lovely about Night Vale. It's dystopian, and people die constantly, and people are constantly being spied on, but that's kind of true of our world as well. And so, ultimately, I think I really just like that sense of community, that people accept each other, that people look after each other. People in Night Vale ultimately are a very strong and caring community behind all the terror and death.
So, no paying the spinal columns or anything?
No, that would be
can you imagine
impractical
carrying
at
around
best, I feel.
That would be a pain in the ass.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I've actually got a question. So,
No, we're out of time. I'm
No, that's it, I'm sorry. No more questions.
So, you guys have your podcast, and I guess the question a lot of people I've talked to have had is have you thought about taking that into a different medium, whether it's an animated series, live action film, an experience that you can inject into your brainstem with a hypodermic needle, an amusement park ride.
Oh man.
What were you guys thinking about?
Brainstem Night Vale is coming soon. Spring 2014, we're looking at for that one. We have thoughts, we have ideas, we're working on stuff. It will probably appear in some other medium eventually. But I kind of can't get more specific than that at the moment because I don't really know. It's all just kind of talk right now.
Yeah, a lot of it's in the wouldn't it be cool if phase, which is awesome and a lot of fun, because wouldn't it be cool if a Night Vale board game happened, but I don't actually make board games. Therefore,
someone did that, right?
No, they did a mock-up of something.
I thought it was playable.
Oh, did they?
Is it playable? Does someone in here know? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, but it's in the pretty much everything is in the wouldn't it be cool if this existed, rather than we need to sit down and plan this out.
There's a certain amount that is a little past wouldn't it be cool if, but it's still very loose. It's still very I'm doing a kind of amorphous gesture with my hand.
The one thing that we're focusing on a lot right now is doing more tours like this. Going across the country and getting a chance to meet fans.
We plan to try and be in a lot of places next year or so.
And I think, I personally think that's really important because it's a very different experience than, all of you sitting in your individual homes or cars or whatever with your earphones on and listening versus being in a communal setting. with other people and getting to experience not only the show that we just did for you, but also each other and finding people in this area who also like things you like. And I think that's really awesome. So, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think I speak on behalf of the audience when I say that we are eternally grateful to have you here tonight. I just had a lot of emotion, a lot of feeling there, especially at the end of your show. It just a strong feeling to be in this room and to see you guys do what you do. It was great, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
for coming.
yeah.
We really appreciate it.
It's great.
And now we have a special contest, and I'll let